Hi, I'm Alex, and today I'm going to be sharing my thoughts on the Pentax 67. There are many videos about this camera out there already, however I want to discuss why this camera is the right camera for me within the medium format market, and hopefully that will help inform your decision about purchasing a medium format camera for you, whether or not that turns out to be the Pentax 67. I'll start by giving a brief overview of the camera and its basic features. The Pentax 67 is a medium format SLR type camera that takes either 120 or 220 film, giving 10 and 20 shots respectively per roll. Additionally, with the use of a 3D printed adapter and special take-up spool, you can use 135 or 35mm film as well to take panoramic shots similar to the Hasselblad X-Pan. This is an SLR camera in contrast to rangefinders such as the Mamiya 7. While some people prefer rangefinder focusing, this means that what you see is what you get when you look through the viewfinder with this camera. It has a large focal plane shutter with a flash sync speed of just 1/30th of a second, which is not ideal for flash photography. However, this can be mitigated with the use of the leaf shutter lenses if desired. So now I'm going to explain why I chose the Pentax 67 as the medium format camera for me. I previously owned the Mamiya RB67 and found that it was simply too bulky to use on a day-to-day basis without a tripod, which is my preferred style of shooting. When looking for alternatives to the Mamiya RB67, I decided to stay with the 6x7 format rather than 645, 6x6 or 6x9 because I prefer that 5:4-ish aspect ratio for both digital files and prints, especially when shooting in the portrait orientation. Additionally, I find that 6x7 gives a nice balance between a large negative with a high quality image and actually getting a decent number of shots out of a roll of film. So what specifically attracted me to the Pentax 67? Number 1, the lenses and their speed. The Pentax 67 lens lineup covers a wide range of focal lengths from the 35mm fisheye up to the 1000mm telephoto. I currently own the 105mm f2.4, the older version, and the 200mm f4. I have ordered the 45mm f4 for an ultra-wide 20-ish millimeter equivalent field of view, and also to use that lens for panoramics, but it has not arrived yet. 2. It's an SLR, and SLRs focus a lot more close than rangefinders. Most rangefinders don't focus very closely at all, with the exception of something like the Mamiya 6, which has that optional lens that sits on the front of the rangefinder and the lens to help you focus a bit more closely, but it's very clunky, only works with one lens, and generally speaking it's not that versatile. I like shooting close a lot. I do a lot of macro work in digital and 35mm, so that was a must for me. I should note that while the Pentax 105 f2.4 and 200mm f4 cannot focus that closely and don't have a great magnification ratio, you can easily use a simple diopter filter, like a +1 or +2 diopter, to drastically slash that minimum focus distance and still maintain good image quality while having a direct through the lens view so you don't have to deal with parallax effects. Lastly, just the ergonomics. I like being able to hold a camera that feels more like my Canon SLRs. I don't like the boxy feel of the Mamiya RB67, and I presume I wouldn't with something like the Hasselblad 500 series or V system. So the Pentax 67 just made more sense for me. The camera that you're actually willing to carry around is the camera you will take pictures with, and that's what has turned out to be the case for me so far with the Pentax 67. Of course, there are some things I don't like about the camera. No camera is perfect. 1. It's not very easy to change the focus screen, and you need to have the focus recalibrated by a technician unless you know how to do it, which I don't. 2. I have the TTL prism with this camera, and it's a center weighted meter. I don't like center weighted meters that much. I much prefer spot metering, which is what I use with a phone app to verify the accuracy of the meter in the camera, unless I'm shooting like very flat lighting where it's not that critical and dynamic range is compressed naturally by the light. 3. This camera does not have removable backs like the Mamiya RB or RZ67 or the Hasselblad V system cameras, which would make it nice to be able to switch between films, especially when using more specialist or sensitive strange films like slide film, or if I ever get a roll of aerochrome, something like that. However, it's something I can live with. It's just 10 shots and I can make do with it. It's just not ideal. Fourth and lastly, trying to get an L bracket for this camera is damn near impossible. The position of the tripod socket is not in line with the main width of the camera at the back. It's much closer to the lens mount towards the front, which means that a simple L bracket, like I have a universal one, it doesn't fit. So what I'm hoping is that I can get an L bracket at some point for the camera I'm recording on, the Canon 1DX Mark III, and that might be able to just about fit because these are similar shape in a broad sense. Now I'm going to put up a slideshow of some pictures I've taken with this camera. I haven't put as many rolls through the camera as I would have liked due to the ongoing pandemic. However, I hope this will change through 2021, especially as I broaden my lens selection to allow me to adapt to more varied situations. I'd like to thank you all for your time, and I hope this video was informative to you in some way. Thanks.